I've been learning so much from Marshall and from our founding fathers. Because, as I mentioned a minute ago, I turned 40 years old this year. How is it that time just speeds up the older you get? I don't understand how this is happening, but I have 6 kids, and my oldest is now 14 years old. And, I feel like a tomato plant that has got all these green branches, and suddenly I'm realizing it's time to set the fruit. And all the energy is no longer going into getting bigger yourself, but into the fruit, because you know the time is coming where this is your hope for the future, and you've got to put it all into your children. And I'm reminded of that every morning I look into the mirror. And I want the future for my kids to be great. And I want the future for your children to be great, and my friends' kids for it to be great. But I got to tell you, the more I open my eyes and I really pay attention to what's going on, I feel concerned, deeply concerned for where America is heading if it stays on its current course. I've not been a politician, but I'm a father who cares about the future for my kids. And I think there's something very sick in the soul of America in general. Financially, we're hearing about collapse all over the place. Morally, families are falling apart. Spiritually, it's scary what I see happening in our country. I have a friend who was a former police officer who was out in Hollywood, California on the sidewalk with another friend who was a former Navy SEAL. And the two of them were standing there with their Bible talking with people who were tourists on the sidewalk and sharing with them about God. Police officers showed up and said, "Put those Bibles away. You can't talk to them about that." They said, "Sir, I'm a police officer. This is, we're part of the fabric of this country in defending its First Amendment rights, our freedom of speech, and country. Put the Bibles away." He said, "You mean to tell me if I open this Bible and talk to this man over here who wants to talk with me about God, you're going to arrest me?" He said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, get out your handcuffs." And he turned around and opened up his Bible, and they put him up against the car, a Navy SEAL and a police officer, and handcuffed them and detained them out there. And we're going to press charges against them. And I'm thinking to myself, when they told me this story, are you kidding me? I mean, I would imagine this in China or some other country, but America? What's going on? I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with the country. And I don't have some delusions of grandeur thinking that I can fix the nation, but I want to be part of the solution. And so I turn on the radio, I turn on the news, I'm trying to understand from different news programs what is the real issue. And I find that everybody's playing the blame game, and everyone's yelling at everybody else. It's your fault, it's their fault. That it sounds like a bunch of noise to me. I'm not hearing a clear solution and a clear voice on the direction that we need to head. And so in my simple way of thinking, I'm thinking, I wonder if it's just a lot simpler than all this. I wonder if the real solution could be that we have just forgotten the principles that made us a great nation in the first place. Could it be that simple? Could we go back and talk to our founding fathers and just listen to them? Is there a way to go back and learn from them the essentials that built this nation and what would hang on to this nation? And could it be that our founders hundreds of years ago were wise enough then to know that we would get off track in the future because they had seen where they came from and what's in the hearts of men to be selfish and oppressive and to grab power and to abuse others? Could it be that they knew we would get off track and maybe they'd leave us clues and a map to get back to the treasure that would save us? And I met Marshall Foster a few years ago, and he began teaching me about the history of our country. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Marshall, what kind of history is this? This isn't what I learned in my history class. These aren't the pilgrims that I was taught. I thought that, the gospel and Christianity belonged in the church, and it belonged in my home, but not in the public square. It's not meant to be principles for nation building. And he's saying, no, Kirk, that's the whole thing. That's what you don't understand. That's why we're in this mess. You need to understand who these